The title at the moment is Original Seeing with a Focus on Life. Original Seeing with a Focus on Life. Yep. I was raised by an ecologist and a biology teacher. My mom, the ecologist, is also a nature photographer. And they both taught me to approach the world in, I think, a pretty different way from how a lot of people do. And as a result, I have always approached my work pretty differently, with a very, very strong emphasis on original seeing and just like this, I don't know, the spirit of very agentic personal discovery. I feel if I just said it's a class, that might be a little bit misleading, but it is a thing where I have designed some stuff, and if you do it with me, you'll learn things. In biology class in high school, I don't know how it went for you, but in all of my biology classes, we mostly learned about findings from the field of biology as it currently exists, like a body of knowledge that has been accumulated, and then our teacher is trying to hand us pieces of that body of knowledge, or at least give us tools to like explore the body of knowledge ourselves. This is taking a pretty different approach from that. Instead of trying to learn what we know about biology as a species, this is a course on becoming a naturalist, on how to observe for yourself with your own eyes the world around you in a way that allows you to make discoveries about how life works for yourself. When you make good enough observations, you can't help but make relatively high quality inferences as well. So it's a 4-week course, and the 4 weeks are broken up into themes. So in week 1, the theme is sensorium, and this is basically about getting to know your observational tools. We take a lot for granted when we look and hear and smell and taste and take in the world ordinarily. And we're kind of gonna shake some of those assumptions loose a little bit in the first week. We will learn to use our senses in unfamiliar ways so that we can make more direct and intimate contact with the world as we observe it. So, for example, there will be an exercise in the first week where we go on a smell walk. And by that I just mean, instead of walking around and thinking or walking around and looking at things, we'll be walking around and smelling things. So we'll often like get down on the ground on our hands and knees to find out what some plant smells like or something like that. And just like find out, what is it like to smell things? What is it like to try to gather as much information as you can through scent specifically? I like talking about smell in particular when I talk about sensorium, because we all have noses, and we have for our entire lives, and yet we tend to be very wrong about them and about what scent is and how it works, and we can find that out just by paying attention for 30 minutes. In week 2, we will study individual organisms in a great bit of detail. So there are exercises and attention practices where you will just go out and choose one individual organism, a plant or a bug or a bird or what have you, and really look at it from several different perspectives, using several different tools. Here we will be using all of those things we learned in sensorium about how to relate to the information coming into us in new ways, to get as much detail as we can on individual organisms and learn a great deal about just one thing at a time. Then in week 3, we'll study ecology, by which I mean the relationships between organisms and their environments and organisms and each other. So instead of just looking at one plant in a whole lot of detail, you will look at where the plant is growing, what's growing around it, what are the properties of the soil that it's in, what are the bugs that are running around on it, and what are they doing, and why do they care, and we'll think about all of that kind of thing. Organisms exist in an environment, and in week 3 we'll study that environment. Week 4 is choose your own adventure. Um, so by this point, we will have tools for observing, tools for actually looking at specific things when we decide to focus our attention, and tools for taking in what is around the things we're looking at so that we can understand the systems better. And in week 4, you're going to decide what to do with that. It'll be up to you. You'll have your own project, and you will take your studies in whatever direction you think makes sense for you in order to advance as a naturalist. You're going to do what I have done in the past. Okay, I don't know where to start counting on where I started designing this course.
32 years?
In the past 32 years, or the past 3 weeks, depending on how you want to count. I thought about what would I want to master, or at least where would I want to start if I wanted to become a better naturalist, someone who is really in contact with the natural world and able to take in the information and make interesting inferences from it. And then once I had a few answers to that, I started coming up with some exercises. All right, if I want to get better at relating to my senses, then here are some exercises I could use. And then I just explored those and I picked a few. You have a lot of options. You might get to that point and say, what I really want now to advance as a naturalist is to really dive into this interest I've developed in fungi. And so maybe you're going to go study fungi and figure out how they work, and maybe you're especially interested in how they're different from plants. On a day-to-day basis, here's what the coursework is. It has 3 components. The first component is noticing practice or attentional training. And what that means is each day there will be something that you set out to notice in your experiences just over the course of ordinary life. So, for example, around the time when you're doing the exercise with the smell walk, you're also going to be paying attention to smells. So just any time that you smell something and notice that you smell it, you will basically give yourself a point. I'm going to recommend everyone have some kind of way of keeping a tally. My favorite way is a counter ring. It's just a ring and it has numbers on it, and you just can turn it and then the numbers go up, and that's all. Similar devices are knitting counters and golf counters. There are apps like Taplog where you just touch a button and it just advances the count. If you want, you can just make a mark on a piece of paper. That's fine too. You'll have a lot of room probably to You'll have a lot of room to customize your attention practice. But one way or another, you're going to be keeping track of times that you notice something just throughout the day. The second component is exercises. And these are things I have designed that will give you some structure as you spend some time deliberately practicing whatever it is we're working on in the theme for that week. For each week, I've developed at least 3 exercises, but you can choose how many you want to do. They're each designed to be 30 minutes long, where it's actually a 20-minute exercise followed by a 10-minute reflection. And if it works in your schedule, you can do all 3 30-minute exercises, but you're also welcome to do just one. And if I've given you 5, you can do as many as you like. The third component is class discussion. So we are going to meet as a class every week. This is not a lecture-driven course at all. The discussions are not about me. Even though I'll be facilitating, these are just supposed to be a chance for all of you to let your ideas cross-pollinate, to process and talk about what you learned during the week. And there'll be just a tiny little bit of helping you get ready for the next week as well, but most of that will happen asynchronously. So there's one meeting at the beginning that will be more orientation, more me talking than the rest of them. And then the rest of them will all be discussing what happened in the previous week. The first meeting is on May 16th at 11 a.m. PST. To be clear, the meetings will be over video. You don't have to come in person for this round. If you want to come and check it out, you think you might be interested, then send me an email. My address is loganbriennestroll@gmail.com. And I will send you a few questions, maybe a little kind of survey or questionnaire to see if you would be a good fit for this round of the course.